mentioned $20 an hour plus a bachelor's. Because there are a lot of jobs out there that are over $20 an hour that don't require college education.
That's true.
Does a part of you, and we've heard this from some people today, feel like you were lied to a little bit? Like, get an education?
I feel very lied to. So I went to med school. I did my master's and my bachelor's med school a little bit, and then I switched to tech. Whoa. So at this point, I'm like, why did I go to school?
Right.
A Financial Times analysis of Gallup data found American Gen Z women are 30 percentage points more liberal than their male counterparts.
The thing, just from a security
so you think
Taylor Swift comes out against Trump?
I don't care if they write that. I'm sad that I didn't 2 years ago, but I can't change that. I'm saying right now that this is something that I know is right, and you guys, I need to be on the right side of history, and if he doesn't win, then at least I tried.
This is for Harrison Butker. Does life begin at conception or when you get married? And is it both? Is that why they don't actually care about kids? Because between conception and marriage, you're not really a person, and that's why we're defunding our schools, and Christian fundamentalists think that prayers are going to fix gun violence and the crumbling foster care system. Oh, also there's child marriage laws in a majority of states, including here in Missouri. So is that just you guys wanting the baby to get to their second life really quickly? Is that the goal?
TikTok was basically full-time for me. I was taking ads by the time I graduated college from the Biden administration and Planned Parenthood and dating apps and stuff. So it was fully financially, sustaining.
So you were getting, the Biden administration was buying ads from you?
Yeah, I was doing full-on political propaganda.
You've heard the old saying, women can't live with them, and they always vote Democrat. In yesterday's installment of Talking with People, I spoke with a wide array of different Americans who spanned the political spectrum. Many of you were surprised by how these people leaned politically, because it turns out that judging a voter by their immutable characteristics may not be as productive as once thought. Today's a little different in that we'll be focusing on one specific conversation, though it takes place with three subjects. And I know what you're thinking. At first glance, there's very little chance that someone like me would find common ground with a group of self-manifesting 20-something-year-old ladies who just came from high tea. Hold on to your hats, because this may not go exactly how you were expecting. This is Talking with People. Happy birthday.
Hey, welcome back. It's your man Wise. Today, oh man, you guys are in for a treat. If you have not seen this already, I'm going to leave the link to the original video down in the description box. We're checking out a video from Steven Crowder. This is Talking with People, as you've seen. This is going to be interesting. I think that women, especially our young women, and I'll say even our older women at this point, the women that are around my age, I think that they've been sold a bad bill of goods. Now, I'm not one of these cavemen out here that don't think that, women should, gain an education or that women shouldn't be in the workforce. I'm not one of those kind of people. I grew up with my mom working, my grandmother working, both grandparents working or both grandmothers working. I grew up seeing women work. I've seen that. No problem. I don't have any issues with that. But the difference in what I grew up with, both my mom and my grandmother, both married for a very long time to the same guy. Married for a very long time to the same guy. And I seen a certain amount of respect that was given to, the men that were in my life. I seen the kind of respect that, even though my grandmother did go to work, I seen the kind of respect that she gave my grandfather, and vice versa. I seen the kind of respect that he gave her. He understood what his job was: protect, provide. When I never heard him say no to her. And when there was ever an issue outside, there was ever an issue with the car, if there was ever an issue that required what we would consider man things, he jumped on it immediately. And I seen the same thing growing up. I did. And unfortunately or fortunately, I had to participate. I was outside cutting grass. I was outside helping my pops cut trees down. I was outside raking leaves. I was out there. I was a part of that. I didn't like it. Not gonna lie to you, I didn't like it. I would rather spend my weekends doing something else on a Saturday. I'd rather be hanging out with the homies than I gotta help my pops cut this tree down because he don't want to pay to have someone cut this tree down. He getting up there and cutting it and I'm helping. My mom did not one time go out there and offer her services. I promise you she didn't. So I just think women have been sold a bad bill of goods. And it's okay to say that we're different. We need each other, but we are different. Women play certain roles, men play certain roles. Harrison Butker, who's been, just demonized over the past couple weeks because of his speech out at the Catholic college, and I can't recall the name of the college, around his religious beliefs. I am a Christian. I believe that men and women have roles to play in a relationship. If we keep going at the rate that we're going right now, where you have women deciding not to get married or deciding that they're going to wait until they're 35, 40 years old before they even start to prioritize a marriage and a family, we're looking at the demise of our nation right now. They're saying that by 2030, over 60% of women, regardless of race, will be single and childless. That's an epidemic. The birth rate is low right now, and it's been substantially low dating back to about 2013. People aren't having kids like they used to, and folks aren't getting married like they used to. The marriage rates are down tremendously across the board, regardless of your race. In the Black community, you'd go back into the 50s and 60s where Black people were married at 60 to 70% clips. Today, in the 2020s, it's 29%. So we'll round that up and say, we'll say 30% of, Black folks are married. That means that 3 out of 10 Black people are married. In some of the other populations out there or some of the other ethnicities, they're right there at that 45, 50%. If we keep going at this rate, there's no way that we can survive, that this nation can survive. But I'm 100% here for this conversation. I am so looking forward to it because, again, I keep saying this. I just think that women have been sold a bad bill of goods. And we need each other. We need to get back to family units, family dynamics. And to be honest with you, it would take the pressure off of everybody. It would take the pressure off of everybody. You're a single woman, especially if you're a single woman with kids and you're trying to raise your family. It's a struggle out here. Things are super expensive. If you could find a good man to team up with, if you could find a good man and jump on his page, jump on it and get together, the sky's the limit of what you guys can accomplish. What we do know is the wealthiest people in the nation right now are married couples. That's a fact. The wealthiest people in this nation are married couples. But hey, I've gone off on a tangent. I'm so looking forward to these interviews right here. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Steven Crowder's channel. Make sure you give him a like and a sub, all that kind of good stuff. Lord knows he has more than enough. Man sitting at 5 million. But hey, we'll appreciate the work that he's doing. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Drop me a comment down below. Let's get into the video.
What's your name?
Thank you, Maddie.
Maddie, nice to meet you, Maddie.
I'm Janice.
Janice?
Yeah.
Itse?
Itse, yeah.
Itse?
Yeah.
Am I okay? All right, I'm doing my best. Here, I'm gonna get on one so I can get the three of you. Or should I be sandwiched in between? I don't know. So Maddie, Itse,
Janice.
Janice. Okay, yeah. I'll remember that because Janice introduced my dad to my mom. She was her language. So is this just you're dressed up just because it's your birthday?
Yes. We just came back from the French room.
We went to high tea. Yeah.
High tea.
In the French room.
What's
in
that?
the Adolfo Hotel.
If you look at me, I clearly don't know anything about high tea.
It's just a tea party.
Little
They give
sandwiches.
You sandwiches.
Oh, it's one of those things ones where they charge you more for smaller portions.
Yes.
Yeah. The kind of thing that only women like, and they drag them into.
It's the aesthetic.
Yes. It's like brunch on steroids where guys like, why am I paying $25 for eggs?
Exactly.
And the women think it's cute. All right, so how old are you today?
27.
27. All right, you all around the same age group?
26.
26? Okay. All right, so a close cluster there. First question, are you planning on voting in this election coming up?
Yes, I'm registered to vote.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, are you paying attention to the election? Is it at the front of your mind?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of it on the media, and I just had to write a paper on something pretty controversial. So I've been very passionate about the Dakota Access Pipeline and all the pipelines that are being put underground by a Dallas-based company, Energy Transfer Partners. Basically, the pipeline's already leaking. It's already been built. And it goes under a lot of fresh water sources, and it can contaminate water for thousands of Americans. So it's something that I wrote about, and I just found out today I got an A.
Yay.
So I'm really excited about it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good.
You did a good job.
How about yourself?
What's the question?
Sorry, I said, well, I can tell Janice is the one who takes charge and starts talking about pipelines and stuff. So you'll be like,
I don't know about pipelines.
No, most people don't, aside from the people who need access to energy. Do you have something that's at the front of your mind as far as this election? Like, what's most pressing? Like, what do you think is at stake?
Really, I don't know what's at stake, but I would like to be a homeowner.
Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like it's not a great time.
It's not the best.
I don't feel like I have the same opportunities my parents do, so I'm like, I would love to be a homeowner.
We've heard that a lot from younger people today, that getting into home ownership is tough.
Yeah.
What do you think, you say?
From what I heard, because I work in the private airline industry, and so for corporate aviation, I heard if a certain party gets elected, they're going to be taxing on corporate jets, and so I would be out of business.
Right.
So that's one of my concerns.
How much you want to bet Al Gore and John Kerry still take private jets?
I don't know.
It only affects some people.
Yeah.
So do you work with like corporate chartered flights, or do you mean like a major airline?
I do. I'm an independent contractor.
Okay.
So I don't work with a corporation itself, but I know it would affect me. And my job opportunities.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you feel the economy is as far as job opportunities for people in your age?
It's very difficult. I have a degree in marketing, and it's so hard to even get an entry-level position as a marketer.
Really?
And they want to offer $20 an hour and require a bachelor's, which is ridiculous. You can't live off of that in Dallas. Yeah.
$20 an hour?
15. I've seen. I've gone on Indeed, and even 15 for entry-level marketing positions is what they're offering. And even for me, it's hard to get something like that, even though I have experience. So it's difficult for our generation, and I'm sure it's difficult for everybody in general.
Because it definitely is. And I'll say this, as someone that's worked in human resources for a very long time, the companies only do what the market will allow them to do. Hear me out. Back in 2008, 2009, when a lot of companies did, massive layoffs, due to the real estate crash, when there's so many people out on the market, it actually suppresses the wages because there are so many people vying for an opportunity. Companies know that, and they take full advantage of it. And they lowball people because at that time, especially, there had been people that had been out 6 months, a year. And I had conversations with people that, hey, 2 years ago, I was making $120,000 a year. Now, because they've been out of work for a year, they've been out of work for, 6 months or so, or longer in some cases, they are willing now to take a $65,000 or $70,000 job, or a contract that pays, maybe $40 an hour, but there's no benefits or anything. There's no PTO. There's no, healthcare, and none of that. It's just a straight $40 an hour contract. And that's the situation that we're in right now. And I feel sorry for the young lady who mentioned, I have a marketing degree. It's hard pressed to get a job that pays more than $15, or they're looking for someone with a lot of experience, which is true. Now, because there's so many people out on the market right now, it's unfortunate because the mainstream media does not want to have these conversations. They will not put it out there that last year alone, in the tech industry, almost 2 million people lost their job. That's not including the trade industries. That's not including the sales, the retail marketing, so forth and so on. So it could have easily been, 3 or 4 million people that were laid off last year alone. That's not to include 2022, because 2022 is when the layoffs really started. But again, no conversation about that on the mainstream media platforms. But what happens is that these companies, they know, okay, we're going to throw an entry-level position out there, but they're going to make the entry-level position, the requirement, be similar to what normally in a normal society or normal economy would be a mid-level position. So now entry-level positions require, 2 to 5 years of experience, which technically is what we would consider mid-level, right? But because they know that there are so many people out on the market right now, they can ask for that. And those people with 2 to 5 years of experience that would be considered mid-level, those people are now willing to take almost an entry-level salary, $20 an hour, $25 an hour or so, something along those lines. I guess that depends on the skill set. Marketing positions typically don't pay much until you get way, way up there. But let's keep going.
Also mentions, this is interesting to me, you mentioned $20 an hour plus a bachelor's, because there are a lot of jobs out there that are over $20 an hour that don't require a college education.
That's true.
Does a part of you, and we've heard this from some people today, feel like you were lied to a little bit, like get an education?
Yeah, I feel very lied to. So I went to med school. I did my master's, my bachelor's, med school a little bit, and then I switched to tech. So at this point, I'm like, why did I go to school?
Right.
Yeah. So I'm like,
be a doctor. Yeah. And then realize
so
quickly.
Now
I'm sorry to stop it, but how much debt do you think she's in? I hope she had a scholarship. She went to med school, got a master's degree. We're talking, if there's no scholarship, that's $250,000 in student loan debt right there. And then she switched to tech. What people don't understand is that majority of your tech positions do not require a bachelor's degree. Most of them don't even require an associate's degree. It just requires certain certifications. I'm at a point right now, these colleges are ripoffs, in my opinion. They're ripoffs. Why can you not just go to a trade school for every skill set out there except for, I guess, maybe a lawyer or some form of doctor? Why do you have to go to school for 5 years to be a physical therapist? Or, well, you don't have to do that to be a nurse. Typically, I believe they have the 2-year programs to be, to become a nurse. But why is it a necessity to go and get these 4 and 5 year degrees? Why hasn't someone come out with the trade route where we can skip all the humanities and all these whack science classes that you don't need if you're going to get into business, or that you don't need if you're going to get into the tech side of things, information systems or so forth and so on? Why hasn't it been set up that, hey, you want to be this? Here goes the classes, take these classes, and boom, you're in there. These colleges, it's a racket. You spend 2 years studying things that mean absolutely nothing. I went to college. I know. I have a degree in business. I know. Majority of the classes I took, you take them and you data dump them. Now, when I took, sales class, and there was a marketing classes that I took that I really enjoyed, public speaking or speech, I really enjoyed that because that's a necessity. But majority of the classes that I had to take, they were worthless. And they for daggone sure, in my opinion, did not help me in my career. I'm just saying.
Maybe if I got a computer science degree, maybe it is worth it.
Right.
But the cost to, the benefit, I don't know.
Yeah.
I could have just gone straight into my job, honestly.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of societal pressure to get a college degree, even though nowadays it honestly doesn't mean much. Because you have UPS drivers making, what is it, 100
grand a year.
100 grand a year. So it's like, you don't need a degree for that kind of job. So why am I putting thousands of dollars into getting a college
I should just
degree?
create content.
Yeah, that's unfortunately a lot of young women are just going to OnlyFans now too.
That's true.
Yeah.
Is that something that you've noticed? Do you have quite a few friends who do that?
I feel like that's become the easy thing because of the industry being so competitive, even from foreign people too. They're coming really educated and they are getting hired because they're willing to work for a little less. Mm-hmm. So it is very competitive and cutthroat.
So you got the message, I guess, growing up, go to school, get straight A's, probably take out a loan if your parents weren't able to afford it for you. And you get out and you're going, I'm basically charging the same as a guy who's a shift manager at Dunkin' Donuts.
That's right. That's perfectly correct.
The gender gap too. Since I work remote, I want to apply as Matthew King instead of Maddie King because I'm maybe I get paid more as a man.
And on top of
That's not a thing. I'll go back. As someone who employs 30 people, it's not a thing.
No.
If I could get away with it, then I would never hire a guy again. I just if I could pay women less,
Okay. And on top of that, I feel like diversity.
Definitely not a thing. Again, I've been recruiting for quite some time, and that is definitely not the case. Definitely not the case. Now, what I will say is that typically Americans in general don't like to negotiate. But I will say that women more times than not are a little more, less likely, or, maybe a little more apprehensive when it comes to negotiating salaries. Although I've seen some out there that really know how to negotiate, and that's how you maximize your salaries. You can always go down. You can never go up. So anybody out there negotiating for a position, if your number is, you want to make 80 grand, you probably should ask for 100. Don't tell these people that, hey, if I could just get 80, because now you just set where we're starting to negotiate at. I love negotiating. It's fun. I enjoy it a lot.
Diversity is being prioritized over experience, because in the aviation industry, that's what they're doing in a lot of airlines. They're hiring for diversity purposes instead of experience. So you're having a lot of these issues with, they're saying the Boeing manufacturing is terrible quality control. But a lot of it is because of the new hires, the new pilots that don't have as much experience, but they're hired because of the diversity quotas that they're trying to fulfill.
Yeah, and the reason I say it is because I don't want you to buy into another lie that women make 77 cents on the dollar. It's not.
Oh, really?
No, it's not true. It's not true at all.
Okay, I'm gonna be like, okay, where's my raise?
Yeah. No, but a lot of women do believe that.
Oh, okay.
And at my company,
That's
as a matter of
good
fact,
to
the second person in command is we'll probably have to edit out their name. She's an absolute killer. Like, she is a bulldog.
That's awesome.
And she works with another lady named and it really just comes down to who's right for the position. But the idea that men are going out and hiring men, like, why would I hire a man if I could pay a woman less? I could just... Absolutely. It's just simple. I mean, it's just simple, capitalism, in the grand scheme of things. If you could hire women that could do the job just as good for less, why wouldn't you do it? Again, I've worked in extremely competitive environments from a recruiting standpoint, and that is not what I've seen. Now, I have seen to where, there's women, they're just not great at negotiating salaries, because what you guys have to understand, the companies put a position out there. The recruiters, the managers, they have a budget of what they can pay. But the recruiters and those managers, they are bonused based on how low they can come in under budget. And from a recruiting standpoint, they are, they're bonused based off of, how favorable of a deal can they get an individual for the company. I mean, it's pretty simple. So, if they can get you and they know you're good and you can come in and do the job, but you're willing to take $10,000 less, they're going to hire you. Now, what happens is people get in and then they get to talking around the workspace, you know what I'm saying, around the water cooler, and word gets out that, hey, such and such over here negotiated a salary for the same exact job, same team, but he negotiated, 105. Well, I only got 95. Well, we're not here. We're not in the business to give you more. We're actually in the business to give you what you negotiate and what you ask for. That's how this works. Now, if you work with a recruiter, headhunter, they are actually, in the business of maximizing your salary as much as they can, because that's how they're bonus, not from you, but to the client. So if you get with one of them and you have them on your side, I call them, basically the agents for regular people out there that are working in the tech industry, so forth and so on. Those people are actually incentivized to get you more money. They're incentivized to do it. If it's a direct hire type situation. Now, if it's a contractor role, that's a completely different situation, but I'm not going to get into all of that right now. Cut the costs of my business by, 23%.
Yes.
So don't buy into that.
Okay, good.
But that's a good thing.
I'm happy.
So it seems like there's a mixed bag here, because obviously your view on the Dakota pipeline would be something that would be seen as more left. But then obviously you all seem to agree on the idea that maybe the education system has failed you on the promise.
Yes.
And the DEI kind of diversity situation has made it tough to get a job. So with all that being said, who do you think is best, or at this point in time, how do you think it goes? Do you think there's one person who's better than the other to kind of rectify this or provide you with more opportunity? The opportunities that you said maybe your parents had that you feel you didn't.
Anyone?
I personally don't feel like there is anyone on the top of my head that I see fit more than the other.
We want a third option.
Yeah, I just honestly, we saw what Trump America was like, and although the economy was booming, Biden's America has been very hard. I got laid off. I was doing accounting at a construction company, and I was making great money, and it pushed me back into school because all of these places want you to have a bachelor's and stuff, and I was just straight off experience. And so right now I'm in the middle of school at almost 30 because the requirements are different, but yet like the industry hasn't changed. We were using the same programs that were built years ago.
Right.
So it's just completely different, and it's not caught up to standard of what we need for today.
Well, you just said the economy was booming under Trump. We've seen Biden's America, but no one's more fit than the other. Seems like you're saying there was
a lot of issues with Trump too. You know, just all the hatred and racism that comes with it that people associated with Trump, and all the protests that happened, the violence. So all of that is what made me feel very sad to see people breaking into Targets, breaking into Walmarts to make like their voices known, that they're minorities or they're not getting their voices heard. A lot of that I found very disturbing, and I don't want to see that happen again.
And forgive me, how is that Trump's doing, people breaking into Target or Walgreens in San Francisco?
Well, it was a lot of it was him like persuading people to do something about what they're unhappy about, and like breaking into the White House and things like that. It just seemed like it fueled people to do something just out of the ordinary.
Yeah. But it seems like all these, you're talking about, you know, for example, Black Lives Matter, the Summer of Love,
yes,
and now you're seeing it with Palestine, you know, on campus, that those were people in opposition to what Trump stands for. It seems like really if you were to take that and segment it out and say, okay, these were radical leftists who were committing acts of violence.
Yes.
But then go back to what you said, the economy was booming, I got laid off. It seems like one of those things where maybe it's personality versus results.
There was like pros and cons. It was pros and cons, I think, to both.
Yeah.
But I do think that the economy was better under Trump, for sure.
Right.
Definitely.
That seems to be an overarching theme today, aside from a few people.
Has the theme been like women's rights, like to their autonomy at all, or not really? It's kind of like a last year's thing.
There have been a few people, kind of last year's thing.
Last year's.
I know
What's
Biden's
the
hoping
it topic right now?
Well, not the most people say it's the economy and immigration.
Economy, yep.
The economy and immigration seems to be.
Texas, yeah.
Yeah. And what about yourself? Would you say those are kind of the big issues? Because it seems like you're all saying the economy.
Yeah, no, I definitely believe like the women's rights, like the I brought up, is definitely one of the huge factors.
I worry that we'll lose. Like I know some states have thought about like contraceptions and stuff. I'm like, oh.
But another thing too, I do want to know. Like the student loan debt, that was something that was brought up by Biden, and that never really happened.
False promises by the president.
It's a lot of false promises, and it makes us give up hope on Biden. And even then, I wasn't really a huge fan of him.
Yeah,
right.
Me neither.
But still, it just makes me not
want him in the office again, for sure, not Biden.
It's sad because it seems like these are women that are more conservative leaning. They can see the economy was so much better, you know, during the Trump administration. We all could see that. I've had a plethora of conversations around that, how great the Trump administration's economy was. I mean, it was booming. And this young lady right here, who lost her position in Biden's economy, I would assume just based off what she said, she voted for Joe Biden. I'm not sure if the lady in the middle, I'm almost thinking that the lady on the far left, the brunette with the darker hair, that she probably either abstained or she supported President Donald Trump just based off of some of the things that she said. But that's my problem right there. They take one issue and say, you know what? The heck with everything else. I'm supporting Biden off of this one issue, not understanding that they were voting against their own demise. This lady voted for her layoff. And anybody that voted for President Biden and this administration, they voted for these layoffs as well. They voted for the layoffs. They voted for the mass invasion down at the southern border. And then these young ladies are from Texas, so they know exactly what time it is with this border. And they voted for this stuff. Elections have consequences on every level. Elections have consequences. I'm going to wrap the video right there because if not, this video would go extremely long. But elections have consequences. And it's just so unfortunate that you have young people who are making life decisions off of, you know, one or two policies. When you look at, you know, what was going on there, quote unquote, the summer of love, when it really was just the summer of hate, you know, the George Floyd, the BLM riots, Antifa going crazy. That had nothing to do with Trump. These were far left progressive radicals losing their ever-loving minds. Then you got mainstream media trying to demonize Trump behind it, but that wasn't him. If I fault Trump for anything during his administration, is the way he handled the pandemic. I think that situation could have been handled a lot better, but hindsight is 2020. We were experiencing something that we had never experienced before, people of our ilk had never experienced before, and in a pandemic that hadn't been experienced in 100 years. So I don't know if you could have, or if he could have handled that situation much better. But if there is a knock on his administration, that is the one knock on it. But those 3 years prior to that, booming. And these young women, I'm glad to see that they can see it and they're willing to come out and say it, and they're not Trump deranged. They're just calling it how they see it. This young lady lost her job. She was an accountant. She lost her job. Now everybody's saying you got to have a degree, because that goes right in line with what the Democrats want. Now she had probably having to take on debt, because I'm assuming she wasn't able to get a scholarship of some sort. The other young lady who, had a master's degree, was in the medical field or trying to get in the medical field, who's probably racked up, thousands, hundreds of $1,000s in debt. Now she's in tech and kicking herself because it's like, man, I should have just went in this direction in the first place. And the other lady, mentioned that, hey, if a certain party gets in again or gets their way, I could potentially be out of a job. Elections have consequences. They do. And it's unfortunate that you have so many young women out here that are standing up for a policy, honestly, that doesn't make sense. This woman's right to choose foolishness. You still have a right to choose. You have a right to choose to not jump in the sack with a man. You have the right to choose whatever contraceptive you would like to use to keep yourself from being or getting pregnant. You have the right to choose all of that. And in my personal opinion, I don't think anybody should just be out there, male or female, should just be out there willy-nilly giving themselves to anybody. It just causes more harm and more drama than you actually need in your life. Life is hard enough as it is. But let me know what you guys think, man. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys would like me to continue this in another video, let me know in the comment section. I mean, this was a great talk, great interview by Steven Crowder. Please go over to his channel. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel here. Join the ARP family. Click that join button and join the ARP family. It would be very much appreciated. It would support me, support what I do on a day-to-day basis, and keep God first in your life. Stay prayed up, and I'm going to catch up with you all next time. Peace.